About a month ago, I 34 female had a fight with my sister in a restaurant. I should not have brought up politics, that is my fault. I was complaining about how the tariffs are going to make things more expensive, and I'm worried about it, because we struggle as is. My sister Jasmine 33 is a big Trumper, and she defended them, but I said I really hope people would admit they were wrong if the tariffs ended up being a bad idea. I said I hoped she would as well, and not just defend them. She took that personal, and made some kind of retort, then said she didn't want to talk about it anymore. I have a hard time immediately dropping topics, so I said something else, and she repeated that she didn't want to talk about it anymore. I replied with, "Okay, I just wanted to understand where you're coming from." I was trying to agree to end the conversation. She took it as me still pushing, so she started speaking to me like I was stupid in a very condescending tone. "What is so hard for you to get? Do I need to spell it out for you?" I got flustered and just ended up repeating myself and apologizing. She then went in for a personal attack, telling me I don't even apologize right, and my apologies suck because I act pitiful and play victim. I was being sincere with my apology, but at that point I went from flustered to angry and embarrassed. So I said she was being a bitch, and I walked out on her. I made her pay my bill, but I sent her double the price to make up for it. Afterwards, she told me she wanted space and needed to take a break from hanging out with me. She took the opportunity to dump what seemed like a year's worth of grievances and judgment on me as well, bringing up past impulsive decisions, ones that I apologized for and did my best to make right. Called me a snake for a situation she knows nothing about. Husband is mentally ill and lost his job. We had to move in with H temporarily, and during that time I had to ask family for help various times. She is angry I asked my grandmother for money for our prescriptions after my mother had given me money for a different scenario. My mother had told me not to ask grandmother for money, since she was helping me with this bill, and I agreed I would not ask my grandmother to help with that bill. The money I later had to ask for was for medication my husband and I both need. This was a hard time. I hated having to ask for help. She also chastised me for not wanting to hang out with certain family members, who took place in the January 6th fiasco. I'll admit I vented to her a lot about that cousin. He was very instigative with politics, and I hate certain ideologies that he has. But I have since had positive interactions with him, and have let a lot go. My sister apparently thought I hated them, but had let them help me move. That is not the case. I never hated them, just some of the crap they would say. And I was extremely grateful for their help and expressed that, and even gifted him a board game he was interested in. I just don't know what to do. I feel judged and misunderstood, and I can't convince her otherwise. All the times we've had spats, or she's done something I didn't like, I let it go. I would vent to my husband, of course, but I always made sure to make an effort to make up with her. And even so, during these spats, 2 over the 4 months we stayed with her, there were never any deep personal attacks. My youngest sister, Mary 30, shortly after my fallout with H, got into it with me as well. She has 2 babies, one that just turned 2 and another that turned 3. She lives out of state, but I found out my sister H, my aunts and my grandmother all got together and went to celebrate her 2-year-old's birthday. No one told me, and I felt a little hurt that no one even mentioned anything to me. This next part is my fault totally. I have not made a huge effort to spend time with her children. The first 1.5 years of their life I was dead broke. I couldn't buy them gifts or take trips to see them. I could have made more effort to visit when she was in town, but I didn't. I'm on the spectrum, not an excuse, but I think it is the reason I didn't pick up on how upset it made my sister. She stayed at H's house when she would come to town, and never really asked for me, so in my head it was okay that I wasn't there. I am awkward, and I don't know what to do around babies, but I do want to know them. I just figured I had a little time before they started forming memories and major attachments outside of mom and dad. So I thought I could prioritize everything happening with my husband's illness, work, and life for a little while. That line of thinking though didn't take M's feelings into consideration though, and I recognize now it was flawed. So when I mentioned to M that I was sorry I missed her child's birthday, and that no one had let me know, and that if they could just let me know next time, because even though I haven't been able to be there a lot, I would still like to have the opportunity, she flipped on me. And again it felt like years of judgment and grievance got dumped on me again. She scolded me for not taking more time to know her kids, then said she didn't even know if she wanted me to know them, because I hadn't put in enough effort, and she thinks I'm a bad judge of character. This statement is based on two friends I had years ago, who eventually became very messy and toxic, but it took me a while to safely disconnect from the relationship. She was never around these people, does not know the whole circumstance, but knows I have not had contact with them in years of my own volition. However, that is apparently enough to label me a bad judge of character. Then also told me her husband doesn't want my husband around his children. My husband has a dissociative disorder due to childhood abuse. I was really hurt by that because my husband is nothing but kind to my family and does the best he can. He has never and would never be a danger for children to be around. She also said her husband doesn't like me as a person. I told her he never got to know me, so it's a little unfair to judge me without knowing me, and that anything he has heard has only been from her. That made her mad because she said I was blaming her for her husband not liking me. I told her it wasn't to blame her, it was just fact. I've never been able to hold a conversation with the man, and I've tried several times. I don't even really care about being his friend. I just think it's unfair to judge someone at their core like that, without knowing the person. She then told me it's because I offered M magic mushrooms years ago when M and her man-to-be were dating. At the time I was experimenting with psychedelics, no hard stuff, and M smoked weed, so I just offered and that was it. She declined and it was no big deal. Apparently her now husband is very anti-substance, he won't even take ibuprofen or cold meds. She stopped smoking when she got with him, but apparently told him about that, and from that moment on he decided I was trash. We argued a little about it, and in the end M and I both ended up miffed with each other. But I told her I wanted to show her I could put in more effort with my niece and nephew, and would do weekly FaceTime calls with them. She seemed pleased with that at least. But when I tried to call them the following week, she told me she thought I needed to work on my mental health before being around her children. I later found out she was angry with me for calling my father that night, because I was not in a good mental space. I was hurt both of my sisters were fighting with me, and unloaded so much on me that I didn't even ask about. I didn't understand why it was okay for them to do that when I've never picked them apart like that. It brought up a lot of feelings. We grew up in an abusive situation, and I didn't bond with them like they bonded with each other. I was beaten and screamed at every day. I grew up heavily depressed, angry, and afraid. It did not make for the best environment for a child to form any kind of attachments. I've also always felt left out and different than the rest of my family. I am more outwardly emotional. I am introverted and have a hard time with social interactions, but I do try. I have apologized for the part one played in our bad relationship growing up, but they have never apologized for any of the crap they did to me. And having them both suddenly act like they dislike me nearly at the same time put me in shock. I thought we had healed over the years, like I said I apologized years ago. And I thought we had gotten a lot closer. I have grown and healed some since being a kid, and I'm obviously not that person I was when I lived at home anymore. But now it feels like I was wrong, so I called my dad and cried. I wanted his advice on how I could fix things and make it better, but it just pissed off M. She said by running to my dad, I was playing the victim and not keeping things between just us. I don't know if it was wrong to call my dad or not. I needed advice and help. It did all trigger a bad spiral, and I've been extremely depressed ever since all this happened. I know I'm not perfect, and I'm sure I was a jerk at times, but I have always apologized and tried to make it right, and I've always let it go with them when they did something wrong or acted like a jerk to me. I thought that was just how we did things. I still do not know what to do. I feel like my middle sister H has judged and misunderstood me, and M has judged me, and is now weaponizing her children because she's angry with me. I feel so alien with how all these interactions played out, and genuinely confused on many aspects. Every time I think of my sisters now I have a knot in my stomach. I know this was all a lot, and thank you if you made it this far. I've really not had anyone to talk to about it outside of my husband and dad, and I feel like I can't stop obsessing over it. I'll take any advice. I just ask you to be kind if you don't mind. Again, I know I did things wrong here too.